love your site and blog. We just got 2 Canon C300s and have learned so much from you and your guests.
Hi, Daily Visitor here. Just wanted to thank you for all your time and effort put into the site. Planet5D has become a vast resource for me.
Hi, everybody. This is Tony Toscano, and Planet5D is my favorite podcast. It gets an A.
Hi, you've reached the Planet5D blog. It's brilliant. Everything you want to know about photography and video is here. It was here yesterday, it's here today, and it'll be here tomorrow. Come back soon.
Planet5D. Welcome to anything and everything DSLR and beyond. Planet5D. This is the official Planet5D podcast.
Welcome, Earthlings. My name is Clint Mitch, and this is the Planet5D podcast, episode number 17, entitled Charlie Locke Does Magic Lantern. I am here with my co-host, Pamela and Barry. Welcome, Pamela.
Hello.
And Barry Anderson, who is our other usual co-host, is not available today, is having internet connection problems, so he is not available, but our guest is here, and his name is Charlie Locke. Welcome, Charlie.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
It's great to have you today.
Yes, thrilled to have you. A couple of quickie notes for those of you who are watching on the live podcast. We're really thrilled to have you in the chat room. It's not really a chat room, but there is a box below the live window where you're watching me and Pamela and Charlie. Pamela, Charlie, and I. Proper grammar. You can type in questions below that, and what I'd like to do is get you all warmed up and have you all tell us a few of the places that you're from. We already know that somebody is from Finland. We saw that in the pre-show, and I know Steve McDonald is here, and Fletch from the Association.tv is here. Come on, tongue. Great to have Fletch. Fletch does some writing for us on Planet5D and has had a few posts on Magic Lantern as well, so we're thrilled to have Fletch in the room. Daniel Yee is here, so good to have Daniel. And we've already got 2 questions for Charlie queued up in there, but we're waiting for some people to tell us where they're from, and they're not doing that. Come on! Maybe I'm delayed. Sometimes there's a delay. That's okay. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of things today, I hope. One of the other things is, for those of you watching, this is a Planet5D t-shirt. If you go to planet5d.com/t-shirt, you can get your own planet5d.com shirt. So those are new to our Planet5D store if you want to check those out. We are still going to be doing that giveaway that I talked about the last 2 weeks. I still haven't gotten that set up. I've been busy doing a couple of other things. And we're just going to get started. So Charlie and I met last fall, I think sometime. We met on the internet when I found out Charlie was doing some awesome stuff with Magic Lantern. And so, long story winded, that turns into a short story, is that Charlie and I started talking via email and just started talking a lot about Magic Lantern and what it could do and what it can't do. Charlie started writing an ebook, and I think Charlie's decided that's not going to happen. But we'll get into that maybe a little bit too. But Charlie does a lot of stuff like training, one-on-one training. So give us a little bit, please, about your background so the people are up to speed on who you are and why you're here, please, sir.
Cool. Well, I started using Magic Lantern a couple of years ago now on some of the lower-end DSLRs, and it was just really, really good. I remember when the 2.3 stable version came out, and I've just been using it pretty much non-stop. There's not really a time where I've taken it off the camera because it's not of any use. So yeah, I mean, when I got my 5D, there was no tutorials out there on how to install it, so I worked out how to do it, and then I made a video which went kind of viral. I think you could call it viral. One of the bigger tutorials on how to install. And then yeah, that kind of went big, and then I was getting lots of emails in with questions because people still were having trouble. And then after that, it just kind of escalated from there. And then you got in contact because you saw the video, I assume. Yeah, just kind of went from there.
I don't remember exactly how I found you, to be honest. That was a long time ago in a land far, far away.
I think the video was hosted on Dave Dugdale's site, and then I think maybe you saw it, and then you posted it, or something like that. I can't really remember.
It's, I can't remember what I posted last week, much less last fall, Charlie. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how is it that you've gotten to the point, I mean, you told me that you've gone out and done consulting on Magic Lantern. How did you manage to do that? Was it because of the video or other things?
Yeah. People saw the video, and for whatever reason they still weren't able to do it, or they just wanted more information on it, or how to use it, how to install it, and whatever. And yeah, I was able to travel quite a bit of the UK and go and meet up with these people in person to teach them how to install it, how to set it up, the best features to use, how to use them, the best settings, and all that kind of stuff. But most of the sessions I've been doing have been on Skype. I would say maybe 75% have been on Skype, sort of all around the world, to be honest.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, what I'm seeing is, I have your 5D Mark III tutorial up, and you have 73,000 views, but you sit there and you have your say, hey, if you need help, here's my email. And I find that in a way refreshing, because a lot of people don't offer that kind of help, especially just like, hey, look, I'm here to help you. Let me know if you have any questions. And wow, that's kind of awesome.
It is awesome.
It was cool. I found a niche that hadn't been explored yet with the 5D Mark III.
And you're not doing that all for free, though, are you? Aren't you charging people?
Yeah, I am charging, because otherwise it would be a complete full-time job.
But you have to value.
Yeah.
You have to value the hard work that you've put in, and that's definitely respectable.
That's terrific. I'm going to jump back a second, and questions are piling in, which is great. Steve McDonald is from Pacheco, California, and I never knew that. I've talked to Steve several times, but didn't know where he was from. There's also Don from St. Louis. Hey, Don. I don't know if you know this, Don, but I'm in St. Louis too. We should meet up. Look me up on some website called planet5d.com. There's a contact link, and we'll have lunch or something. That's pretty funny. Isn't it strange how small the world is? I'll tell you, one time I used to have a chat room, an actual chat room on the Planet5D site, and long story short, that was a real resource hog, and we ended up killing it. But I met a guy who, long story short, I've said that 3 times now, lives 2 blocks away from me on my chat room, on my blog. So it was kind of bizarre.
We've got some great questions in here, by the way. Let's jump right into a couple of these.
Go ahead.
The first one, Magic Lantern isn't a traditional hack where it overwrites your software. Is that correct?
Yeah, Magic Lantern, the Magic Lantern team have been calling it software instead of a firmware. So firmware would traditionally overwrite what you've already got, whereas software is kind of like a run alongside addition.
It really sort of runs as like a layer, right? The
yeah.
Canon firmware is at the bottom, and then it just sort of runs on top of that.
It just extends what you've already got, which is is really good.
That's a good question. That was a good question. See what else. Oh, we've got from Daniel. Is Magic Lantern your full-time job? How do you support yourself?
No, definitely not. My day job is being a cinematographer and camera operator and DOP. So I do some stuff for a news company.
That was my next question.
Yeah, I kind of do all sorts. I'm a photographer. It's kind of 50-50 between video and stills. So I like a bit of variety.
Charlie, you look like you're about 12, to be honest with you. You're very
Thank you.
young appearance. And Stephen mentioned that a few minutes ago. He said you looked pretty young. So.
Now, do you find, and I find this in myself, but as a photographer and a videographer, I find that being a photographer helps my videography skills, and being a videographer helps my photography skills.
Definitely. I think things with composition and exposure and all those things are relatable through both of those. It's just a completely different kettle of fish. Like, say, if you're doing stills for a wedding, it's, well, at least in my experience, I would much prefer to do stills for a wedding. Unfortunately, I do a lot more video stuff for weddings, so hopefully I can change that in the next year or so. But
I'd rather do a lot more video and wedding than stills.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I'm the other way around.
Yeah, I've only done one wedding in my life, and that was hair-raising enough. And that was photography only, so I don't know if I could manage video. I'm too nervous. I mean, you know, wedding feels like a lot of pressure. We have
It's
a couple.
A lot on your shoulders.
I'm sorry, what?
It's a lot on your shoulders.
A lot
for the wedding video.
By the way, Daniel is from Malaysia, which is pretty cool. My virtual assistant is from the Philippines, which is not far from there. And I don't know why I brought that up. There's two really good questions. Well, there's three really good questions in there right now. And the biggest one, I think, we all want to know, but Charlie, what's your experience with bricking cameras with Magic Lantern? Does that still happen? Is that something people should be afraid of?
I definitely think you should be afraid of that. It was just yesterday I installed the latest nightly build of Magic Lantern, and I was having some horrific crashing issues with RAW video. So it just goes to show you that there isn't really that many improvements with regards to crashing. It still really is unstable. And I think even the stable versions for the lower end cameras are still just as unstable, to be honest. I've had issues with the 60D and the 600D. 5D is probably the least stable.
So let's be clear, though. Yes, it's unstable. Does that mean it shouldn't be used in a production shoot?
Definitely not. I have had some issues with on production work. So I shot a music video earlier on this year. I was running a very new build of Magic Lantern, and when I got back to edit the footage, all of the footage had pink frames and corrupted frames throughout the whole video.
How do you get around that?
Yeah, there really is kind of no way other than going through the footage and taking out each frame that's corrupted. And because it's only one frame, it doesn't change the timing that much. And it was for a music video, so it was workable, but still not. It was terrible. I was gutted. But
I bet.
It tripled my workflow time.
All right, let's back up a second, though. I want to make sure that there's a difference between bricking your camera and just having a problem. And so the first real fear is people bricking a camera, and that means that the camera has to go back to Canon to be repaired. Are you seeing any instances of that?
Definitely not in my experience. I know there have been instances, but I do know that they've been able to be resolved. I've seen some stuff from Magic Lantern where they've bricked a camera, but they've been able to work their magic and bring it back to life.
Magic.
Yeah. But in my experience, no, I haven't had any bricking of the cameras.
Okay, so the first fear is totally killing your camera, and the odds of that happening are fairly low.
I would say, yeah, in my personal opinion.
Well, I like this question. Talk about workflow. What modules do you run, RAW versus MLV, and what settings do you use? Do you use HDMI output while recording? What's post-production workflow? So Don wants to know how you work in Magic Lantern and that whole process with it.
That is a huge question.
It's a huge question. I know. All of a sudden, I was like, "Ooh, meat!" I love it.
Yeah. It really depends what you want to do and what your output is. yeah, it really depends. I mean, if you're shooting RAW, then they've obviously got the old RAW. Now I've got the MLV RAW, which is Magic Lantern RAW, which is a new one which allows you to do sound. And there are so many different ways to process these RAW files, and there are so many different ways to edit them, so many different programs, and it really comes down to finding one that you like and then sticking to it, I think.
And that's probably why when you were working on this ebook that we were going to put out, you kind of said, wait a minute, there's too many different ways to do this, and it's taking me forever to just try to write an ebook. So
exactly, yeah, because one day you've got a nearly finished ebook, and then the next day they bring out an update, and it all changes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I find it hard as a layman. Don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing the team, and it's a massive team at Magic Lantern, but trying to digest what happens on their forums is like talking to somebody who speaks another language, because they're all over the place and throwing out techie terms, and I'm like, that's going right over my head. I don't get it. Is this a good feature or is it not? Does it work? Is it not? Which is why I was really hoping that you would get this book finished, and I'm not blaming you, but it's really hard for the layman to get through a lot of the Magic Lantern stuff. So that's one reason why I'm thrilled you're here to answer some of these great questions.
Yeah, I agree. It's very cluttered, the forum. Sometimes I'll go on there and it's just a nightmare to find any answers that you're looking for. And even answering stuff, you're just still not really sure whether anyone's actually got that information, because it's very just all over the place.
Well, just from looking at the questions and how they're just loading up in the, this is a hot topic.
Yes, I know.
There's a lot of questions going on here.
Can we back up, Pamela?
Absolutely, yeah.
The very first one on the list from Daniel is, which nightly build for the 5D Mark III firmware version 1.2.3 works best with MLV-rec?
I knew this one was coming.
Yeah?
There really is no answer to that, because they come out with updates every single day. I mean, with the sessions, I usually advise people to run an older version. I forget the exact date now, but I've been running this version for a good few months, and I'd had no problems with it at all. But the issues with going with like a newer version are that they're new and they're just completely untested, and it's really the most dangerous form, if you will. There's no safeguard by any means. It's kind of, you have to trust your instincts.
Sorry, I keep trying to interrupt. Do you find that the firmware version that was 1.1.1, I think, or 1.1.3 or whatever, that firmware version, Canon firmware version, Magic Lantern version, is more stable than the 1.2.3 version?
At the beginning, it was, yeah. When they first came out with 1.2.3 in Magic Lantern, 1.1.3 was definitely more stable. But now it's smoothed out, and I think it's even. It's an even playing field. And 1.2.3 is a lot easier to install as well.
Oh, that's true. Good point. I haven't played that many times with Magic Lantern, so some of this is new to me too. I wasn't even firmly aware that there's a version that has good audio coming out now with raw recording, raw video.
That's as part of the Magic Lantern RAW, so MLV RAW recording. So you can record sound with that.
See, I'm way behind.
Come on, Mitch.
I know. I do have a few other things to do called planet5d.com. There you go.
There we go. Now, here's another question. Do you ever think the 70D will be able to work with the Magic Lantern to produce RAW video?
You're going to have to ask the Magic Lantern team. I don't know any code, unfortunately.
No, that's good to know. I mean, these questions are good to say, hey, look, you need to go here and find that answer. That's good.
I would say it's obviously very difficult to get hold of the Magic Lantern team, but I would say your best bet is probably to go into the forum. and just hope that it gets seen, because there is a lot of stuff that gets skipped over in there. But Mitch and myself have talked about trying to get hold of Alex before, and it's just one of the most difficult things you can try and do. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is, and it's because they're not running this full time. They do have their full-time jobs, and they're just doing it on the side. Why they do that, I'm not quite sure. I can see both sides, but I think if they did go out this full time and they started charging a small fee for it and all those kind of things, they can make it into a really good business. But it's up to them. I think it's a lot to do with the fact that it's a hack for Canon cameras, and there might be some legal reasons why they can't do that, but I don't know.
And
Politics.
This is the real soundbite for you right here. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. Well, just to back up, for those people who may not know that are watching this, you mentioned Alex. Alex is the current team leader of Magic Lantern. And Magic Lantern was started by, why all of a sudden I can't come up with his name?
Let me look.
You can't come up with it either, Charlie? Come on.
No.
I had him on the podcast. Anyway, why can't I come up with his name? It's a blank. I want to say Al Trotwig, but he's a TV announcer. Anyway, so Magic Lantern, and I've read that the team of Magic Lantern is one of the largest shared development teams on the planet. There are so many people contributing to Magic Lantern now. It's just craziness, which is good because that means we get new features and stuff, but it's also, I think, somewhat difficult, like you just mentioned, Charlie, that it's hard to get a hold of anybody. I'd love to have Alex come on and be on part of the podcast at some point. I don't know whether he's willing to do that or not. But anyway, it's so the other question that people always ask, Charlie, is should Canon hire the Magic Lantern team to work on firmware?
Whether they should or not, that's our opinion.
Yeah.
I think I don't think they would, because it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't protect their cinema cameras. It's like the new 7D is supposed to be coming out, rumored to be coming out. Everyone's hoping for 4K. I just don't see it happening because it wouldn't protect their cameras, which cost sort of 5 times the price. I just can't see it happening at all.
You're Trammell Hudson. Thank you.
Is that the one?
Yes.
Cool.
Somebody posted it in. Oh, it was Pamela did.
No, it was Charlie.
Oh, that was a long time ago. Anyway, Trammell Hudson, yes. That's a very good point, and I love that you brought that up because it agrees with my thoughts. I don't think Canon's going to put 4K on whatever the next camera is because of the two things. One, it protects the 1DEC, but they don't think that 4K is really ready for prime time yet, and I tend to agree with them. Which leads us to the question, if I can dive in. I know, Pamela, you've been wanting to ask this question. Steve wants to know, what's Charlie's opinion on the resolution of Magic Lantern versus the 4K footage from the GH4?
I haven't used the GH4 yet. I really want to get my hands on one, and I'm very tempted to actually get one. But I haven't had any raw footage in my hands. From what I've seen on the net, compressed multiple times, the GH4 stuff looks amazing.
It's beautiful. It's almost too beautiful.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, scaled to 1080, it just looks really, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, so does the Magic Lantern RAW. But then again, the Magic Lantern RAW is such a pain to work with. So.
Right.
But
it all depends on the project and how you're going to
it's
work.
also money. Do I spend the money on the GH4, or do I put up with the frustrations of getting and working with the Magic Lantern?
Definitely.
Okay.
And also, I think. Sorry.
And this is a good question. We kind of glossed over it earlier, but Steve would like to go back to the question about if Magic Lantern breaks, how do you deal with that? Can you uninstall it back to the original? Because there are some people who are new, obviously, who don't know all the stuff, the internals about the way the layers work and all that kind of stuff. So if you would just give us a quick answer on that one.
Cool. So shall I go from the very basics with?
Just quickly, we don't need to go in a
Okay.
problem-solving basics, I guess.
Okay, so if you ever do have any problems with Magic Lantern, 9 times out of 10 you can just take the SD card out if you've installed it on the SD card, and then you don't have any traces of Magic Lantern on your camera, which is really nice.
But you would have, if you, let me just clarify, if you just pull the card out, that doesn't do it. You have to actually turn it off and on, right?
If you pull the card out, it's gone. Because when you pull the card out, it turns off.
Okay. See? I didn't know that.
Yeah, as soon as you open the card door, the 5D turns off. So I wouldn't advise you do that. I would advise you turn it off first, because that could lead to problems. But yeah, I mean, if you do have any problems with the camera being bricked, or if you want to just remove it altogether, I know with 1.2.3 you can now remove, or you can sort of disable the boot flag, and the boot flag is something that Magic Lantern needs to run on your camera. So if you disable that, there is sort of no trace that there's ever been any third-party software on the camera. That being said, some people are worried about sending it for repair and Canon not wanting to even touch it because it's been sort of hacked. But I've sent mine in for repair, and it's not had any problems at all. So they've had to strip mine all the way down because I broke the audio jack on it. So.
Yikes. My understanding is that Canon pretty much will repair it. They don't care that you've put a Magic Lantern on there. But I have heard some people having some problems. So it sort of depends on the tech, I think.
I think if they can prove that the issue that you're having was caused by the firmware, then they would obviously have the right to say, no, we're not going to do that. But, you know, it changes from case to case, I think.
Carrie Seiler says, Carl, God, I can't read from here. It's hell getting old, let me tell you. Can't talk either. Carl says there is a little development going on with the 70D, and he has given us a link to the topic, which we will post in the show notes. So thanks for Carl. God, I've never seen so many questions.
Like I said, this is going to be a second episode at one point.
A couple of people did throw in Trammell's name, so yes, I'm going to close those.
I'm sure they all went to Wikipedia.
Yeah. Let's see. A lot of the same questions about processing footage. Do you convert proxies? We have a few questions on processing and RAW workflow, actually, from several people.
So let's just try and give your typical workflow and what software you're currently using.
Okay. I process on a PC because that is what I edit on.
Sorry.
Yeah, I use Mac. I'm on a Mac right now, so use a bit of both.
So politically correct.
I know. But yeah, I use a PC, so I'm using Premiere, so Adobe Products. As soon as I need to process some RAW stuff, I used to be going through a program called RAWanizer, one word, which was okay, but it doesn't support the MLV RAW. So when MLV RAW came out, they came out with a program called ML RAW Viewer, which is a bit like VLC Media Player, but not. And it obviously understands and can interpret this MLV RAW stuff. So you can actually immediately play back your RAW stuff in MLV RAW Viewer. It's a bit of a tongue twister. And you can export as ProRes or DNGs, and you can actually apply LUTs as well, so lookup tables, so your flat S-log, high contrast, or just normal. It's really nice. So, and then obviously once you've exported as ProRes or whatever you want, then you can put it straight into your editor, and I just edit straight from that. No need to create proxies on this machine anyway.
Oh, that's good. Are you on the latest version of Premiere?
No, I'm actually on CS6, so I'm not on CC quite yet.
Just knowing that would probably be a question thrown out there.
Yeah, everyone's probably just gone now.
I do find it very interesting that we talk about it in that we don't necessarily think Magic Lantern is a production piece of software that you should use on a big formal set. But there are all sorts of different tools available. Even the guys at Film Convert, I don't know if you guys have ever used that. It's a way of, you know, adding grain and processing your footage after the fact to give it a certain look and feel with LUTs and all that other stuff. They're embedding Magic Lantern RAW processing inside Film Convert. So we've got people doing some amazing things with it, but at the same time we're saying maybe you shouldn't use it for production stuff. It's a dichotomy there. It's your risk, as they like to say. Don't call Charlie if the camera doesn't work. Don't blame Charlie.
That's the first line of my emails.
Don't blame me.
I was just like a lot of those questions on how to watch the MLV videos in a Windows PC, but you just answered that. Right.
Good grief. Does Charlie use, this is from Don, does Charlie use any of the other modules like ETTR, and I don't remember what that acronym stands for?
Exposure to the right, so it's exposing slightly over.
Or do you use time-lapse with Magic Lantern? If so, please tell us what the benefits are for doing both those.
Ooh, I like this question.
Which one first? Exposure to the right. No, I don't use it. And the benefit of using exposure to the right is I'm pretty sure it changes your camera's meter slightly above, so your correct exposure will be boosted sort of up slightly. And the reason they do that is so when you bring your files into post, you can bring the exposure back down, and then you have less noise in the footage. Because especially with RAW, you have a lot more noise in the footage. So if you expose high, bring it back down, you have less. What was the other question? Sorry.
What's the time lapse?
The time lapse. Yeah, I use time lapse quite a lot actually. It's something that I'm still working on. I haven't really had that many successful time lapses yet, but that's to do with my skill and not the Magic Lanterns.
Well, the
it's really good.
It has some bulb ramping in it, doesn't it?
It's amazing, yeah. The things that it can do are quite incredible with because you can dial in how often you want to take a picture, say every 10 seconds, how long you want it to last for, how many frames, and it will tell you how long it will take to shoot it and how long it will be once you put it in your timeline at 25p or 24p. So it's
I need
really,
to play with
really
that.
handy.
I would love to play with that.
One of the other things that I know that it does that I haven't yet played with, that I, like Pamela says, would love to try sometime, is the ability to, I've forgotten the words, my brain's just not working right today.
But you say that every week. Just kidding.
I know. It's getting worse, I think, as I get older. You can take an exposure on sound or light flashes, which I think is pretty cool. Triggers, that's the word I was looking for. All right, let's get to some more of these questions. My gosh, there's so many of them coming in.
I love it.
This is amazing, isn't it? Pick one, Pamela.
Oh, hey, this is my daughter. Say hi. I'm doing a podcast. Sorry. What about, just because I looked over, what about the new sensor they just patented? Has it been patented, or is it still in the talks? Do you know what we're talking about, Charlie?
No,
I'm not sure I do.
Sorry.
Is it something, I'm assuming he's talking about the curved sensor.
Oh, the curved sensor, is that Canon? I thought that was Sony.
Oh,
That was Sony.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? That was Sony, yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't know which new sensor he's talking about. Sean, give us another question on that.
Mitch doesn't know. I don't know who does.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's the Sony.
Charlie, I have used Snowed because there's a lot of stuff I don't know.
I just thought everything goes through your forum, so maybe you'd.
Now, I think you answered this before. Is the Magic Lantern firmware working better or more stable in the Canon 5D Mark III than in the Mark II?
I haven't used Magic Lantern on the Mark II extensively enough to know. I've installed it on the Mark II on somebody else's, but I've only really used it properly on the Mark III, so I can't really answer that. Sorry.
Sean says not the curved sensor. Okay, which one?
Link us. We want to read.
Don't know what you're talking about.
And we're normally on top of this as well. DNG, or what do you export out as? I'm a CS6 Premiere as well. What about After Effects?
Depends. Like I said earlier, there are so many different ways you can go about doing your workflow. I mean, in the early days, you used to be able to go through, well, you still can, but you used to have to go through After Effects to grade your DNGs, correct and grade, and then export as something, and then you could create proxies, and it was just really complicated to do like a big batch render. But now you can use MLV RAW, and I usually just export as a proxy, as a really flat sort of slog proxy, and then I can grade it later on.
Nice. So this patent that we might be talking about is the Canon 5-layer UV IR RGB sensor. So this patent shows a 5-layer image sensor from Canon. Interesting.
Yeah, I heard about this actually. There was some sort of information about in like the fine print of some stuff of a camera a while ago, but I don't know anything about it, I'm afraid. I just heard it was happening.
To answer his question, Sean's question, somewhat. I mean, at this point, until the sensor is put on an actual camera, and then the Magic Lantern team has time to try to work with it, it's sort of a moot point. I don't know that we really should be talking about it. Right.
Yeah. Well, at least not on this show. But no, that's good to keep in mind, though. All right, Mitch, let's pick out another one.
Steve, and we keep going backwards, and part of that is, I apologize because of the delay. There's people asking questions after they hear it, and then we don't see the question until much later. But it's a very good question. Steve wants to know, how would Canon know that you ran Magic Lantern if you sent your camera into the shop?
I don't know if they can. I'm not sure because, like I said, I don't know any camera code. I don't even know what it's called. So I'm not very experienced in that. But I'd imagine there are some traces somewhere on the camera. At least that you've changed the boot flag. I'm sure they'll be able to tell that.
Yes.
But I don't know if they'll be able to tell that you've had Magic Lantern specifically. Not that I know of any other softwares that are out there. Obviously, they know of Magic Lantern. It's just whether
they do.
Would want.
They do.
Yeah, I've talked to many a Canon folk about that, and they're very much hands-off-ish about that.
Yeah.
But the boot flag, my understanding is the boot flag is the big key. If that has been flipped from off to on, then Canon knows that you've done some sort of hack, because their software doesn't do it.
It says somewhere, I don't quote me on this, but I've read somewhere quite a long time ago that Canon openly, they want users to experience and get the most out of their cameras. So that would almost imply that they will allow you to do that, which is why they put it there for you to do. But who knows?
Well, I noticed Jari mentioned, she goes, I think Magic Lantern is worth of a risk because the end result is so much better than the H.264 you get from Canon.
Yeah, I agree. Many times I've been shooting my 5D and I've just wanted to throw it away and just get a GH4 or something because it's just so soft in the H.264. Once you've shot RAW, it's almost like it's almost like you've gone back to shooting SD again after shooting HD.
Well, those are good to know. I mean, yes, we talked about the bugginess and the issues, but the end result, if it's so good, I mean, gosh, it's, yeah, like Jari said, you know, it's worth trying to put up with the stresses to get that end result, because that's, in the end, what really matters.
Fletch wants to know if there are any GH4 and Magic Lantern RAW side-by-side videos, and I don't know that I've seen one.
Do you know, if somebody sent me a GH4, I'd be able to do that for you.
Okay, Charlie's address is...
No, that'd actually really fascinating.
Yeah.
It is incredibly fascinating, and I know the 5D gets sort of a rap because it's not necessarily sharp these days. But one thing that I don't think Canon has done enough talking about is that they expected 5D Mark III footage to be sharpened in post. I've heard that from several people at Canon. Not everybody obviously does that. Not everybody knows that. They don't put a sticker on the side of the camera that says sharpen video in post. So how are you supposed to know?
Well, I think everybody was doing it beforehand, at least people that were doing it from the 5D Mark II, because 5D Mark II is undoubtedly sharper, a little bit, than the 5D Mark III. But I think everyone, or the majority, were sharpening in post anyway. I know I've been doing it on 60D stuff, 600D, and it just doesn't hold up anywhere near as good as the 5D.
In terms of the conversation, by the way, of the GH4 and 4K versus the 5D Mark III, for example, I like to quote a gentleman who asked me not to say his name that I talked to at NAB, and he was telling me that none of his actors and actresses want anything to do with 4K or incredibly sharp stuff because it makes their face look wrinkly and bad. So they end up putting, you know, beauty filters on for actresses in the contract. So he's like, nobody wants 4K. So why, you know, other than landscapes and beautiful outdoor pictures, actors certainly don't want it.
Just
but anyway.
Because it's there, I'm not sure you have to use it.
Anyway, so moving on. I love all these questions. It's great. Do you think Canon will go micro four thirds like the GH4, or keep making cameras like the 5D Mark III?
You know what I think? I think that they're going to still do. I think they might even do both. They're realizing they want people to have options and they want to make money on both sectors. I love camera. I love going mirrorless. In fact, it's to the point where I'm about ready to say, sorry, Canon.
Really?
It's, well,
Why?
for example, I just shot the last 2 weekends with my camera around my neck for 13, 15 hours a day. My back is killing me. If I had a mirrorless camera, I can get that same exact shot, the same exact depth, the same quality for a fraction of the weight. To me, that's hands down, that's easy.
That's a good point. Do you I mean, I'm going to ask a really novice question here, maybe. Does mirrorless, let's back up and rephrase that, is there any reason why Canon couldn't do a full-frame mirrorless camera?
I don't see why not.
The technology's there.
So Sony have done it with their A7 series.
Yeah, and Sony's been the pioneer of that, and and they're great. The quality is top notch.
It all boils down to the electronic viewfinder, right? How good the quality is there as opposed to the pentaprism. And that turns out to only be for stills, right?
Mm-hmm.
Video obviously doesn't need it.
Yeah, I think Canon can do anything they want. I really think that they have the
They
technology
think
to
that
do
too, Charlie.
whatever they
They think
want.
that too.
But it's just the fact that they're not going to do certain things because they need to protect their market.
That's true.
I think they can literally make whatever they want. They could make a mirrorless camera which was this big, but they won't because they're Canon.
Well,
That is very.
getting back to Magic Lantern, there's a good question for Charlie here. Does Charlie try to push the frame rate in Magic Lantern video to achieve slow-mo? Do you lower the resolution, or have you found a CF card capable of keeping up? So, in other words, what cards are you using to do this?
What cards am I using? I get this question all of the time. I use Lexar cards. I just for anyone, I suppose. B&H Photo are based in New York, I think. And one of my colleagues, maybe he's listening to this, I don't know. But he actually placed an order of a bunch of these cards. I think he got 10 of these 32 gig cards from Lexar, from B&H. And they were the new ones because they came in at a lower price, and they were the 1066 times speed cards.
Right.
And they're obviously slightly faster than the 1000X ones. And they've been, fairly good. They're only slightly faster. But they're what I use, the 1066 and the 1000X cards from Lexar. 32 gigs or 64. I can't remember the beginning of your question. I feel like
it's something with the slow motion, and
I don't bother with the slow motion of Magic Lantern RAW purely because the bitrate is just too high. It's a lot of the stuff that I do that requires slow motion is wedding work, and wedding work, there is no way I could do RAW stuff, so I just use the H.264 720 50 frames. You just don't have enough time on location or in post-production to do it, to shoot RAW for a wedding. For me.
I don't blame you there, and it goes back to sort of what the customer wants. I think in a wedding video, most customers probably don't care that it's super sharp.
A lot of people still supply in DVD quality, which I'm pretty sure is 480p.
Yeah, exactly.
So you could shoot in 480 or 720, and the client wouldn't even know the difference.
Well, and most of the time they're just sharing on Facebook or. Yeah. Wow, have we been talking for almost an hour already?
Yes, it goes quick.
Oh, wow.
What is the difference between shooting RAW versus shooting MLV video, sorry. I can't find any way to watch my MLV videos that I tried. RAW to DNG works for me already, but MLV?
MLV, you need MLV RAW viewer. Get that. It's on Mac and PC.
Mitch, let's make sure we have a link to that on the blog post for this.
Okay. I'll try to write that down. While I'm writing that down, you ask another question.
Oh, goodness. Well, some of these we've already, actually a lot of these we've already answered. What does Pamela think about still photog shooting 4K video and extracting stills from it on still photography jobs? Wow. First off, a lot of photographers have no idea what to do with 4K video, so I don't recommend that. Shooting 4K video, extracting stills on photography jobs. I don't know. I don't think it's a great idea.
It's too much work, if you ask me.
It's so much work, and it takes so much resources with your hard drive, with your it's too much. It is simplify your life, and that is not one way to do it.
Well, my understanding, by the way, this is a great topic. I love this topic. I've heard that there are some vendors who are working on programs that will analyze your video and extract what it thinks is the sharpest and quote-unquote best picture out of the video.
That takes so much away from the artistic value of being a photographer in the first place.
I don't disagree with you there. But they're doing it on camera phones. For example, I think the Samsung does that in their commercial, where they show you that the person is shooting something, and then they actually go back and back up a couple of frames or something. So I think some of the cell phone makers are starting to do stuff like that.
So it's kind of like someone buying a super expensive camera and shooting on auto?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. It's like automatic focus. It's
Yes.
like counterintuitive.
Exactly.
It's like letting the camera decide what you want to do. Doesn't seem like the right way to go. It feels like that would be a step backwards or two.
Great.
I'm sorry. There are just so many great questions here.
But we do have to, I've got to get going here soon. But I want to keep talking. Yes, I have kids texting me from downstairs.
Yeah, we do that in our family. I love the sound of the shutter, Sean says.
It's nostalgic. Yes, agreed.
Though in many situations, I really would love to have something totally silent so that, when I'm in the locker room shooting pictures of girls that I'm not supposed to, I don't want them knowing, right?
Wow. You went there.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
All right. I think we should schedule another podcast and delve even deeper into more magic lantern questions, because obviously it's something that people want to know about. People are craving to know about. And what do you think?
Get out of here.
Well, I do. My kids are.
That's perfectly fine, Pamela, and I think that's an excellent idea, because we probably could go on and on and on.
I do agree.
And I appreciate everybody that's been in the chat room. We're going to just call it a chat room, because that's what it is. It's a one-way chat room, but it's still a chat, right?
We will. We're gonna make sure we have this for rebroadcast.
Of course, yes. People can tune in on the Planet5D podcast. We put them all in the blog stream, as well as you can find us over on iTunes. Charlie, before we do tune you out, is there anything you would like to say to the world?
You put me on the spot now. I think just be, if you're going to use Magic Lantern, just be patient with it. I know I've tried to teach some people that are just so clumsy with flipping between settings that it just crashes straight away and they wonder what's wrong. I think you need to give it time. You've got to understand that it's an addition to this already great camera, and you need to just be aware of that and try not to jump the gun, as it were.
I'm sorry, Pamela.
No, I was just going to say, I know thousands and thousands of users are grateful for you, Charlie, for being a voice and being someone that they can find answers, so it's not as frustrating to create a wonderful end product.
Thank you as well from me. We will have Charlie's connection information on the blog and beneath the video if you're watching it on YouTube. Is that okay, Charlie? You've already posted your email address everywhere, right?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Absolutely fine. I'll just have to hire another person to answer my emails now.
Well, if we're just trying to make you rich, that's all, Charlie.
Yeah.
That's all.
I appreciate that.
I'm stumped.
What's wrong?
Here it is. I pre-recorded my new exit outro and I couldn't find it on my little thing, so I was panicking. I apologize. Thanks for tuning into the Planet5D podcast. We will try to get all of you to come back and ask some more great questions. We're sorry if we didn't get to every one of your questions, but again, we'll give you Charlie's email and you can ask him privately and he'll charge you an arm and a leg. Just kidding.
Charlie, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you guys, both of you, for having me on. It's been great.
We look forward to having you back on in a future episode, and thanks everybody for tuning in Planet 5D. We are going to be over and out.
Now I'm going home.
I am grateful. Grateful to get away.
Fine. I'll be quiet. I'll be quiet if you will.
All right, I'll be quiet.
Fine.
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 It's a perfect ending.
Goodbye, dear.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
But when will I see you again?
Oh, never. Never.
Never?
That's the worst goodbye I've ever heard. And you stole it from a movie.
Okay, Barry, time to go home now.
Well, thank you very much, Pamela. You've given us a lot to go away and think about.
I had a fun time. Now turn that off.
I think we need to do a little more all-weather testing. We've had a couple of cardiac arrests down here, too. We got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again.
That was definitely an E-ticket.
Roger, 0J, and I feel fine.
Returning him safely to the Earth.
I think that's the world's longest